Your next coaching client is right around the corner. Hi, my name is Amanda, and I help coaches to build a business that they absolutely love. And I really believe that more coaches would be more successful if they watch videos like this. So I'm going to walk through in this video exactly what I did when I had no website, no social following, no idea how digital marketing worked, 500 ideas and things that everybody around me told me I should do, not to mention all the books I read, not to mention all of the webinars I attended. I was so confused about what to do, and I just opened up my Facebook to post something, and I saw another coach just like, what do I do to get clients? I'm new. What do I do? And so this video is answering that question. It's also responding to the couple of people that I talked to at a live event last night, where it was essentially the same question. It's just this overwhelm of 500 things, and we need to get out of the overwhelm. So if we haven't met before, hi, my name is Amanda Kaufman, and I'm the founder of the Coaches Plaza, which is a brand that I created to help coaches to be successful in coaching other people. And why? Well, because the number one issue that coaches have is they don't have a reliable and sustainable or enjoyable way that they are getting clients on a really regular basis. And that means that their impact is diminished. And worse than that, it means that the coach starts to diminish. Like, they start to get really, really sad because they had this big dream of how they were going to do all the things and they were going to help all the people. And then they end up not. And the longer you're not in motion, making traction, gaining progress in your business, the harder it's going to be to shift all of that. So I want to break this down very, very simply, because whenever somebody starts something new, they always think about the someday place. So what do I mean by that? When I was like 6 years old, I wanted to be a figure skater. But as a 6-year-old, I was like looking at all these Olympic skaters, you know, the Elvis Stoiko and the Michelle Kwan and, you know, like just all of these amazing, incredible skaters, Kurt Browning, Scott Hamilton, that were just like absolutely mind-blowing in their craft. So when I very first started skating, that was my fantasy, is like, I wanted to be one of those incredible skaters. Now, you know, being 6, I was much more open to the trial and error of the sport. And, you know, I went from skating on a little ice rink, a little kind of yard ice rink, to getting formal lessons. And then eventually I became a competitive skater, and it was like my chosen sport while I was growing up. But I think we all do that. Like, when we want to become an entrepreneur, we look at the really successful entrepreneurs, and especially now with these devices, like, we see what successful could look like, and it's like right in our face every single day. And it can feel like there's this huge distance, you know. And when I was 6 years old, I wasn't thinking about the huge distance. I was just like, amazing, I'm going to be it, right? When I grow up, I'm going to be it. But there's something that changes when you're an adult. And there's this expectation that I think a lot of people have that's not terribly reasonable, which is that you're supposed to be already automatically good at the first thing you try. You know, like, if I'm not automatically already good at the first thing I try, well, I guess it's not for me. I guess it's not aligned. And so what I want to talk to you today about is, how do you actually get a client as a coach? And the answer is, you don't get a client. You're not Elmer Fudd hunting for the Bugs Bunny. You're not somebody who's going to get or entrap anybody into anything. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that like holds a lot of coaches back, is they're worried about being icky, pushy, gross, all of the things. And as you should not be icky, pushy, or gross. However, you do need a strategy. So let's just like break this down. The first thing is, you need to own who you are and what your intent is, and you've got to literally own and take responsible action towards your dreams. And like, I know that sounds so basic, but it is so relatively easy to become a coach. You can get the certification, you pay for the certification, you show up to the weekends, you do the homework, you're a coach. And to be completely frank, like, you need less than that. You just need to say the words, I am a coach. And I'm a big advocate for skill building. I think you should probably go through some kind of a certification and have some sort of a roadmap for how you're going to help people. But really, it's like there's not a huge boundary there. And this on its own really stops a lot of otherwise very competent coaches, because they're like, they look left and right and they see all these people that they judge as being a hot mess. And they go, I don't want to be thought of as a hot mess. So the first thing is you've got to take a lot of responsibility for yourself and how you are not a hot mess. You are somebody who is on a mission. You are somebody who is going to do something awesome. And that is cool, right? Like, own it. And if you're having a hard time owning it, consider working with a coach. You know the answer. Work with a mentor, work with a coach, join a program, do something where you can borrow the belief until it becomes true for you. So that's the first thing. The second thing is just the whole prerequisite to having lots and lots and lots of clients, and even just one, is conversations. Like that's the literal actual answer. So, I know I too market. There's a lot of marketers out there that are like, the secret is, you got to have this very special formula for how you do your videos, and you've got to have this very special tactical structure and all of this fancy technology to be effective. And if we're talking about your next client, like even if you have all that fancy marketing hoo-ha-ha, like it actually really does come down to this one input metric, and that is how many conversations have you started this week? That's it. How many conversations have you opened up? So I call this sparking. So sparking is like somebody's trying to spark me right now. They're sending me a text message, and there's an expectation. There's an expectation that you respond, right? So this person just sent me a text message. The expectation when they send a message is like, I'm going to respond in some way. Even if it's just like a little double tap heart, I'm going to respond in some way. And so the art of opening these conversations is saying something that compels somebody to want to respond. So I did this by practicing on the people that I already knew, that I already liked, that I already trusted. And after nearly 2 hours of going through my phone and my Gmail and my LinkedIn when I very first started this business, I had 8 names on a Post-it. And oh my gosh, those fabulous 8. They were the people that I knew I could say, with as full force as I could muster, I am starting a coaching business. And those 8 people were people that I knew like they wouldn't do anything to sabotage my current income. Because I was really worried about that at the time, which is hilarious, but it's another story for a different day. So I really just focused on those 8 people, and I sparked the conversation by saying like, hey, how are you doing? Because these are people I already knew. I already liked, I already trusted. I was already in conversation. So it was a matter of like one email, and I would say, hey, how's it going? You remember how I told you I was doing this coaching certification? Well, as part of that, I need to do 10 complimentary coaching sessions, and I thought of you. So it's that simple. You could do it like in my context, it was because I was doing that certification and they had the requirement of the complimentary sessions, but you can change it to just say like, hey, you know how I've been working on this coaching business for a long time? My coach, Amanda, was saying that I would really start making some real traction if I did some complimentary sessions. I don't need you to pay for it, but I would really, really appreciate it if you would sit down with me and allow me the honor of being able to give you the experience that I'm hoping to give others through my business. Would you be open to that? That was literally it. And you know what? 100% of the 8 people that I sent a version of that message to, and yes, I did completely overthink it. And yes, it did take 2.5 hours per email that I sent because I was so freaking nervous. But the moral of the story is, it's like when I sparked that conversation, they did want to reply because we already had a pre-existing relationship. Now, it was like the second person that I was coaching that I learned this little handy trick. basically I did a really great coaching session with this person, and they were like, wow, this is incredible. And like, by the way, my friend is going through a job change and it's pretty intense. Would it be cool if I gave him your information? Like, could I connect you to? Because I feel like this would be really helpful to him. And I was like, I might not know a lot of people, but people know people. And if people are experiencing what I'm doing and they know my mission and they know why I'm doing it, then they're going to be more supportive of it. You know, to be very honest with you, the most momentum that I ever really got in my business was when I was completely unsuccessful. And what I mean by that is, like, people want to help the underdog. They want to help the person who is starting out and they're struggling. The more successful I got, the more skeptical people were about my motives. They were more skeptical about whether they should make a referral. They were more skeptical about whether it was going to be impactful. And I could do a whole nother thing on that, but essentially the more successful you get, the more suspicious people are about how you actually did it. But when you have nothing, when you got nothing and you're looking for that very first client, people are going to support you very organically because they want to see the little guy win. And so that's like the biggest thing that I wish every new coach knew, is that you are going to receive a lot of encouragement. Now, there's a lot of coaches that I've met in the internet streets and at events and all this kind of stuff where they already kind of tapped that initial potential. You know, they already went to their friends, they already did that, and they don't have like the momentum. So where do you get a client in that case? And actually the answer is the same. The answer is the same, right? The reason why most people don't get the referrals, the people signing up to want to do complimentary sessions is because it feels very needy and very confusing. A lot of confusing language. If you're trying to do a lot of advanced digital marketing strategies all the time, then people are going to see that you've got the hustle, and they're going to see that like you want to be successful, but they're not going to see that you care about them. I'm going to say that again. When you're doing a lot of internet marketing, you're posting on social media, and I'm not saying don't do this, because visibility and advertising is a really important thing, that for you to build a sustainable coaching business, you are going to need to advertise. You're going to need to have presence in your community, whether it's online, offline, all the things. However, we're talking in this video about getting your next client. And the thing is that most people ignore most advertising. This is the thing that like I did not know for when I very first started doing digital marketing, is that the amount of visibility that you need to have is orders of magnitude, many orders of magnitude more than if you have a single connected conversation with a person that you can help right on time. And if the only way that people can get to you is sporadic and not enough volume posting on social media, or a website that's not linked to anything and not referenced to anything, and there's nothing driving traffic to that website, it's just out there in the ether and getting no traffic at all. If that's the only thing that they see from you, then the only thing that they're getting is your hustle. And while people respect the hustle, the thing is it's going to be your other coachy friends that respect that hustle. It's not necessarily going to be the person who wants to buy your coaching. The person who wants to buy your coaching, and when digital marketing is done extremely well, they need to feel that you are speaking directly to them. They need to feel that it's not just you performing and being performative of the hustle and the grind and all the work. They need to know that you personally care about them. So what does that look like? Again, it's spark the conversation. Invite them to freaking coffee, and if you're not close to them, invite them to get a coffee and join you on Zoom. Like, the core skill here is, at the very, very beginning of a coaching business, is actually social skills. It's this activating your inner extrovert. And I am like really, really introverted, so this was really hard for me, but it's not impossible to learn the skills. A couple of books that could really, really help with this is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That is a oldie but a goodie, right? Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi, I think, is another really good book that talks about the power of connection and relationships. Even Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill talks a lot about your conduct and your relationships, plus a whole bunch of other things as well. But the power in your coaching business is in the connection of the relationships that you're building and your willingness to spark those conversations and nurture those conversations forward. Now, nurture doesn't mean like endlessly giving, endlessly talking about, other things that aren't the thing. It's about sparking a conversation in the direction of the transformation that you facilitate. And if somebody isn't vibing, if they don't dig that conversation, let them not dig it. Wish them well. Refer them elsewhere. That's okay. Your core skill is connection and activating conversations, one-on-one conversations with people that lead to a natural invitation to a consult. Once they experience the consult, the next big hurdle is going to be to help them with one meaningful thing in that consult and then invite them into a deeper conversation about continuing to work with you. One of the biggest mistakes when you're first getting your first clients in the door is engaging in like a false empowerment. So false empowerment is where you are working so hard to make the other person feel really good in the coaching call, but they don't, and they get like the breakthrough, the aha, you're pushing so hard for that aha. But then you just keep going and you keep adding aha after aha after aha after aha. And you're trying to cram the entire coaching relationship into one session because you're trying to prove that you are worthy and good enough. And so to avoid that, just remember the very first step that I talked about in this video. You got to own that you're great. You got to own it. It's false empowerment because when you just dump a bunch of here's what you could do, here's what you should do, here's your breakthrough, here's your what, you're ignoring the transformation time. Transformation does not come from information overload. Transformation comes from deliberate changes in behavior, actually. It's deliberate actions that people take. And sometimes they're like the big one-time thing, like getting your first client, the big one-time thing, right? But why are we getting the first client? So we can also get the next client and the next client and the next client so that we can actually have impact in what we're doing, right? So like, yes, it's this big push to get the first client, but then very quickly, after that, it's like, right, how do I build a system around this? And I am telling you that until you get to your first 5 or 10 clients, the system is sparking conversations, asking who would be better off knowing me that you could introduce me to, asking for those referral invitations, and then sparking with those people saying, hey, hi, my name is so-and-so, and my friend blah, blah, blah just gave me your contact information, and I wanted to take a beat to introduce myself. I know this is coming kind of out of the blue, but, blah, blah, blah said that you were really great, and if you were open to it, I'd love to have a coffee. And again, it just like keeps going like that. So now if you have the ambition to build your business into the multi-6-figure or even 7-figure range, you will need systems. You will need to codify your messaging from when they meet you to when they hire you to when they are alumni, and you're going to need to build what's called a customer journey. But when you're very, very, very first starting, let it be scrappy, let it be simple, do what matters. And if you have more questions, let me know in the chat below. Hope you really love this, and we'll see you on another episode.